Hello and welcome to another edition of Andy's Shed Live. This is Series 10, Episode 10 for Sunday the 20th of February 2022. Hello there everyone, welcome to the show. It's me back with you for another Sunday evening live and direct. From us here in the heart of Derbyshire, in rather wet and rain-soaked Derbyshire today, because it has been absolutely tipping it down. So I hope you're not under a flood wherever you may be. But yeah, we've managed it. We've come through the water and we've managed to get here today. So yeah, we are here and we are on air. Right, we will start with the usual housekeeping and stuff. Remember, we do have a website where you can catch up on episodes, andyshed.coldpress.net, and that's also the way to contact us as well. If you want to get in touch with us, initially contact us through the contact form that you'll find on there. Also, if you like what we do here, remember. We also have a Patreon site as well. Hang on, when I can get the right thing. It's that one. It's www.patreon.com/AndyShed. For just basically £1 a month, you can join us on Patreon and help support the show, and also see some extra stuff as well occasionally. So that's patreon.com/AndyShed. And also, don't forget, we also have a forum where you can go and talk about telephones and stuff when we're not on air. gpotelephones.proboards.com. Right, I'm just logging into the chat and things, so we can see what's going on. Who is here tonight? We've got Penfold, we've got Jimmy, we've got Christopher, we've got Fat Hobbit, we've got Gambo, we've got Wesley, we've got all sorts of people are there in the chat tonight. I'm just catching up with what people have said. How long have you guys been here? There's loads of it. Penfold says, hi everyone from Angola. The internet is very poor, so I will have to catch up later. Wow, Penfold's in Angola. Jimmy says, hello Andy, Christopher, Dominic, Mr. Hobbit and Penfold. Also, anyone I forgot? Yeah, I think you've covered all the bases there, Jimmy. Fat Hobbit says, I'm on time for a change. Says, I hope none of you in the UK suffered with the storms. No, we kind of got away with it. The new greenhouse that I built last year, oh, things are falling off stuff here. The new greenhouse that I built last year, that we put polycarbonate panels in instead of glass, has lost some of its polycarbonate panels in the storms over the last week or so. But apart from that, we're okay. Then I found the polycarbonate panels. What I've not found is the clips that held them in, because the clips have gone ping and gone somewhere. So I've got to get some new clips, and there are some now on their way to me. When we've got that, they'll put the panels back in. But that's the only sort of real damage that we've had in the storms, I think. Christopher says he's put one of his rail crossing gate lights on the ceiling and converted it to run on 240 volts AC from 12 volts DC. Cool. Wesley says he thinks Cumbria could be Derbyshire for rain. I'm not sure. We've had a fair bit here. So, Dominic says, I finally found a turntable which matches all my other mid-70s Sony hi-fi components. I'm debating about whether to get some speakers instead of headphones. Go for it. Go for it. Your turntable problem, you're probably suffering from the Trimphone effect trying to get a turntable for that. Gambo's on his holidays, he says. So he's going to tackle the box of foam bits he's got stored out of the way, plus sort out loads of modern railway stuff that he'll send to either eBay or a proper auction house. I would advise you not to send it to an auction house, Gambo. Put it on eBay, don't send it to an auction house, because by the time you deal with fees at auction houses for this, that and the other, even if you sell an item, you still end up owing them money. I know somebody who sold a painting at an auction house. He sold his painting, he got £30 for it. When he went to pick up his money for the painting, the auction house told him that he still owed them a fiver because of listing fees and commission and fees to take photographs and fees to put it in the catalogue, yada yada yada. So yeah, I wouldn't use an auction house if I were you. Right. Okie dokie. Right, what's the news today? Told you I was going to tell you a bit about the radio station. I was there this morning at the radio station. We have got some of the furniture now. I went this last week up to Huddersfield, collected a couple of desks that will be built into it, that will become a studio desk kind of thing, hopefully. But I'm still looking for one of these corner desks that's a kind of right hand corner. I've got a left hand corner one, I'm still looking for a right hand corner one. So more stuff is needed, so I'm still scanning eBay and things like that for stuff like that. But I got it all moved in, all the furniture moved in. It's all been flat packed and everything. So I got all that moved in, and 3 rather heavy filing cabinets as well this morning in the rain. And now I've just got to put the furniture together. I've started, but I've got to put it together. So that will be the next thing. You may have noticed that earlier today a video appeared showing you the basically the empty room and that, and a start on a new series all about the radio station and about building it. So if you are interested in the radio station and you want to know more about it, make sure you are subscribed to this channel and make sure you hit that bell icon thing so you know when we put new videos out, because I think the radio station videos are probably going to come out one a week or one a fortnight, or might even be more as we get close to going on air in a few months' time. Right. Okay. Right. So, other things that have been happening just recently. I've had a package arrive. This is the package that came. Yeah, it is on a camera. Do we think? Yeah, so this is the package that came, and it's full of Trimphone handsets. Well, I say it's full of Trimphone handsets. There's 2 in it, both with a similar problem. Can you see that? Yeah, both got this problem. So one thing that I need to do here is repair these and make that gap go away. So one, there's another one in here somewhere when I managed to find it. There. Oh, this was properly broken. Where's the other bit in the box? There it is. Oh, it's properly broken in half. Right, so the challenge to today, I think I showed these last week as well, didn't I? The challenge today is to put these back together if we can. So there's the bits, and here's my favourite stuff. This came out of the pound shop. It is nail polish remover. It says super strength nail and tip remover, and it says in tiny letters at the top there, it says 99% acetone. Make sure you get one that is 99% acetone. If the percentage of acetone is less, it won't work, because this is basically pure acetone. So I know it doesn't say 100%, but I don't think they're allowed to say anything's 100%. I think they have to say 99%. So there we have it. So what we are going to do is try the acetone trick on these phones and see what happens. And we'll try this one that's broken in half first, because I tried to scrape. I think that things wanted being glued before, and I tried to scrape some glue off it, but I don't know if there's any still on there, so I'm a bit worried about that. So the idea is put acetone on both halves. And the idea is the acetone melts the plastic, so you should, in theory, be able to stick it back together. So there we go. Right, will that stick? Push it together as hard as you dare, and also run more acetone around the inside of it, where the join is. So hopefully what we are managing to do here, hopefully if we're lucky, is weld the two halves of this together. Now I've got to try and get it all perfectly lined up, and you can move it about a bit. I've found it, you know, it doesn't go totally solid straight away. You can move it around a bit. So hopefully here, when this is dry, I'm quite hopeful it will. All sort itself out. Now I would normally use acetone slurry on the surface of this, but I haven't got any this blue colour that these Trimphones were, because I haven't got any spare plastic this Trimphone blue, because it's a different shade of blue to anything else. So what I'm trying to do is liquefy the plastic either side of the crack, you see, and move it around so the crack completely vanishes. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Puts it on the inside as well. And hopefully we'll eventually be able to rub this down on the outside, and we're hoping you won't see the crack anymore. That's the theory anyway. So I'll put that one to one side a minute. Now we'll have a go at this one, which is only cracked. This one, so it's not as bad. It's only cracked and it's only on one side. So if I can just dribble a bit of acetone into that crack, like so, that one should hopefully sort itself out. So we'll come back to those and let you know how we've got on. Let's put the top back on the acetone. These are a job, by the way, that came in for me. These handsets. These are a commercial job. Somebody has asked me to repair. They've got a lot of Trimphones, and these are just two that were broken. So I've been asked to do a repair job on them. So that's what we're up to. And the magic ingredient is acetone. But be careful when you buy it out of the pound shop and that, because you get it in very similar bottles to this, and it's not pure acetone. It's only like, it says acetone and aqua. If you look at what's in it, very tiny print what's in it, it says acetone and aqua, and that means of course it's watered down, which is not what you want. So that's what that is. Dominic says, I'll have to I'll have to look out for that video. Yeah, have a look for it, Dominic. You'll find it. You'll find it. It's fine. You'll find it. Right. Okie dokes. Right. Lovely. So, all sorted. Pear drops? What do you mean pear drops? Eh? What do you mean pear drops? What's pear drops? Yeah, it says pear drops. I've got no idea what he's talking about, but there you go. Christopher says acetone is what Metro Train used to remove paint off trains from vandals. Yeah, I would have thought you'd remove the paint on the train as well, unless they're polished aluminium trains are they, like they have in America. But yeah, it should be fine. Right. It's amazing how fast this dries, actually. It's already dry to the touch. I mean, it's probably not very strong yet, but it's already dry to the touch. That. So what we'll have to do next is probably sand it down and see if the cracks disappeared. This one looks pretty good as well. Can you see? I mean, when that's sanded down, I don't think you'll see the join. At least I hope you won't see the join. So we'll figure it out. There you go. So I've done them in double quick time, actually, those. So that is pretty good. So I'll leave them for a minute, and then we'll see how it pans out. Right, what else have we got this week? Not a massive amount, actually. Nothing's really come in this week. Been doing all the radio station stuff and sorting that out. So that's taken all the time and everything this week. So nothing else has really come in. Oh yeah, it says pear drops smells like it's acetone. Yeah, it does smell a bit like pear drops, actually. You're right, it does. Yeah, it does. Gambo says, I heard WD-40 removes paint from cars that have been vandalised, etc. Not tried it, nor plan to. I don't know about moving paint. Anything that removes paint from cars that have been vandalised, does it remove the paint that should be on the car as well, though? That's the problem. But WD-40 removes all kinds of things. If ever you get any... You know how blue tack goes really, really gooey after a while? You know, old blue tack goes really, really gooey. If you get any of that on anything, spray it with WD-40 and it dissolves blue tack. It totally dissolves blue tack. Worsley says, have you tried machine polishing on ABS? Yeah, Andy. Not seriously, Wesley. No. The problem is that a machine often goes too fast, and if it goes fast, you end up creating heat and melting the plastic. So you have to be really, really careful if you're going to try machine polishing. But what I do like. Something that I've heard about as that one's moved. just seen the cracks reappeared. It's moved. I'm going to hold that in place a minute. Yeah, one thing that I do like is what do they call it? A kind of atmospheric polishing, whereby you put the item you want to polish in a sealed container with some acetone, acetone soaked cloth or something in the bottom of the container. The acetone evaporates and the vapours of the acetone in the air melt the surface just enough to polish it of whatever you've put in there. They just melt it enough to polish it, and I have seen it done and the results are stunningly good. So that's something that might be worth a try if you just want to polish something. But if you actually want to get ridges out of the surface, it may not be the way to do that. Just looking at this now, just stick it back under here. See, I can see there now. I can see the joint is not lined up perfectly, just there. But this side has lined up, so this must have become misshapen, because if one side's lined up perfectly, the other side should be as well, but it isn't, so it must have become a bit misshapen, this. So hopefully, if I put a bit more acetone on that, and the paintbrush has gone rock hard now because the acetone, it's got acetone solution on it now and it's dried, but as soon as I dip that back in the acetone, it will go soft again. So if you see that, look, it's hard, the paintbrush, look, but as soon as I dip it back in there, it's soft again. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to drag the acetone from the high bit, which is here, onto the low bit, which is here. So I'm trying to drag some of the plastic across that gap. It's a slow process. You have to keep just working on it. But if you're careful and if you're lucky, you should eventually be able to get a pretty much invisible repair. So we'll try that. As I say, it is a slow process. The guy who sent these to me, he didn't send me the other bit either. The other bit of the handset, so I can't put it back together and see if it lines up because I haven't got the other bits. But the idea's there, and you watch that dry. It should probably change colour as it dries. Wesley says regarding the sort of machine polishing, you need to keep the pressure right, i.e. light, and keep the workpiece moving. Yeah, I think that's good advice, Wesley. You can still get it wrong quite easily though. Chris says he's got his railway crossing lights wired up now to his 240, so you've got to use a step down transformer. So he's not actually got it running at 240 volts, he's got it running at 12 volts I think, well, on the 240 volt mains, because he's got a step down transformer on it. And he says, yeah, the acetone is used on the stainless steel trains. Yeah, I don't think it'd work on painted ones. I think you'd fetch all the paint off. I don't think it'd work on your red rattlers. I don't think they'd be red anymore. That looks better now. Now, you could see the step in that before, and now that step has almost vanished. Can you get a camera on this? Right, the step has, you can actually see it more on the camera than you can in reality here, but that step has now almost vanished. So with a bit of polishing, I think that step will go away. And the other one that I did with the crack there, that's looking pretty good as well. So I think we might be on track for a success there. So yeah, we'll let those dry a little bit more, and then we'll see what we can do with them. I've not actually done this acetone smoothing thing for quite a while, and that, so yeah, I got the idea from people who do 3D prints, because when you do a 3D print on a filament printer, like this little tanker, this little 09 mod railway tanker, this was printed on a 3D printer, and the tank piece of it was printed in bits. In fact, if I've got one it's still in bits to show you. Yes, I have. The tank, there's a tank piece of it, because they're printed as a kit, they're not printed in one piece, they're printed as a kit. So there's a tank piece of it, you see, and it's got kind of artifacts in it where the layers, you can see the layers where the layers have been built up on it, you see. So if you put that in a big jar with a bit of acetone in the bottom, and you suspend that in the jar or something, the theory is that what happens is the jar, you'll get a load of acetone vapours in the jar, and it would smooth out those little lines on there, so that would be a smooth round thing. I've yet to try it, but that's the theory of it. But these are the little 3D printed 009, so 4mm scale on narrow gauge, pieces of rolling stock that we sell in the shop, and it's emporium.coldpress.net, and we sell different ones of these. That's a tank wagon, and we've got a little coach there, a little four-wheel coach, all run on basically the same chassis, and brake van. and there's others as well that we do, but these are ones that I've just been painting, just to sort of show what they turn out like. So there you go. Oops. So there you go, Christopher, for your model railway. Fancy doing a bit of 009. I particularly like this. I particularly like this tank like that. I think that's quite a nice little model, that. And we're very cheap as well in the shop. Have a look, ensemporium.coldpress.net, and go to the model railway sort of part of the shop, and you'll find all the kits listed for sale on there. Right, as the chat stopped, it's all suddenly stopped happening in the chat. When it stops, I never know if people have just stopped talking or if the whole thing has just completely failed. I can never quite tell which way around it is. Right, okay, okay. Right, I'm looking back. So yes, Wesley, I've not seriously tried machine polishing because I found it hard work, to answer your earlier question. But having said that, in the last summer, I did manage to pick up second hand a slow speed polisher. You know, one that it's got a variable controller in, so you can slow it right down. So I probably will try that at some point. It needs new mops on it at the minute, so I've got to get a couple of new mops for it. But I probably will try that. I know somebody who does it very successfully with Bakelite foams, but I don't know if he does it with plastic ones, because Bakelite isn't quite as susceptible to the heat as plastic is. Dominic says you were on Top Chat. Yeah, Top Chat's rubbish, Dominic. It doesn't show you half the things, and it tends to default to Top Chat. Christopher says my model railway is 00 gauge. Ah, well, if it's 00 gauge, it's 4mm scale, isn't it? So this basically runs on N gauge track, but it's still 4mm scale, because it's narrow gauge. So it just runs on N gauge track, you know, 2mm gauge track if it was standard gauge, you know, the 2mm scale. But because it's 4mm scale on N gauge track, it makes the track just over 2 foot scale gauge instead of 4 foot 8.5 inches. Cool. So yeah, so I've got some other ones as well. Those. I've not got one to hand, but I've also got, I've not got one handy, but I've also got a box van and a wagon, an open wagon as well. All run on basically the same chassis, or very similar chassis. Gambo says, Andy, can you recommend a cheap but useful PABX? Dominic suggested a BT Ultimate 106, which is exactly what I want, but can't find one for sale. Do you know an alternative system to go for? Right, that's a good question there, Gambo. Right, you need a PABX that will do pulse to tone conversion, I assume. So basically you want quite an old one. So a Panasonic 616, I think there's a letter with the number, but the numbers in it are 616. If you put Panasonic 616 into eBay, you'll get stuff back on that. A BT Revelation will do it. That's what I've got down here. That's what's powering the phones here at the minute. There's others as well, but they're the two that spring to mind: the Panasonic 616 and the BT Revelation. I will have a look and see if there are any around on eBay for you. Just let me have a quick look. I mean, there's probably lots of others that will work, but I don't know for certain. I can't see at the moment one that's like the ones that I've got. Plenty of Panasonic PABXs on eBay, but not like the ones that I've got. Similar, but not the same. So I wouldn't like to recommend them because they're not exactly the ones that I've got. I can't see anything that's immediately springing up on eBay UK at the minute, Gambo, but Panasonic 616 is the thing to look for. Christopher says Panasonic TDA30 PABX, but it has RJ12 sockets. Yeah, the 616 has RJ12 sockets as well, but you get a converter that is an RJ. Oh, are they RJ11s? I think they're RJ11s. But yeah, because it's designed for the American market. But you get a little converter box that you plug into it, and the converter box then acts like a master socket, because each extension has to be effectively a BT master socket. So the little converter thing that you plug into the Panasonic PBX and has a normal GPO socket type hole on the other end of it. In the little box that's on this little device, there's the capacitor and whatnot that comprises of a master socket, so it is effectively a master socket. Wesley says, not wishing to advertise, but I have an inspiration available here which I could do with moving on. So there you go. There you go. Wesley's got an inspiration. I think that would work, because the inspiration and the revelation were, I think, kind of contemporary to each other. They were around about the same time, hence the similar names. I'm not sure what an inspiration one is. How many lines in and how many extensions is an inspiration, Wesley? Because I know the revelation, you can vary it. You can buy extra circuit boards to put into it to build it up. But how many in and how many out have you got on your inspiration? Christopher says he uses a Panasonic TDA30, and that definitely works, because he's got videos of it working and stuff. I'm just reading. Sorry, I can't talk and read at the same time. Have you noticed? Wesley said, oh, the one that Wesley's got is a 6 plus 18, if he remembers it right. So that's 6 incoming lines and 18 extensions. So that's actually quite a big one. You won't find one with many more than about 18 extensions. And 6 incoming lines is sounds like quite a lot, but if you were to get into having things like CNET and that, you might suddenly find you want at least 3 or 4 incoming lines on it. So yeah, Wesley's got one. I don't know if you can contact each other, but if you can't, guys, contact me, and I will put you in touch with each other. Okay. If you are interested in making that sale stroke purchase, not much commission, honestly. Right. Okay. Right. How are we doing? How are these things drying? Are we getting anywhere with them yet? I'm kind of hoping these will dry enough to be able to do something with them while we're on air today. Right, I'm tempted to risk that because it doesn't look bad. I'm tempted to risk it. Right, I need a bit of sandpaper. I don't think I've got any in here. Have I got any sandpaper in here? A bit of very fine sandpaper. You know what? I don't think I have. I might have to go and see if I can find a bit. Right, just bear with me 1 second. I'll let you literally watch acetone dry for a minute. I'm back, and I have fine grit sandpaper, and it is quite fine. I don't know what grit it is, I can't read it on the back. I think it's about 180 grit, because I've torn it and I've torn the number off, you see. So but I think it's about 180 or 160 or something like that. You only want a bit of this, I find, so otherwise you end up wasting loads of it. So this is the one that was totally broken. So what we do, once it's dried, is in a sort of circular motion, just sort of do that. Over the crack, and you'll soon see where the high points and low points are. Where it's not gone a light colour, they're the low points. So what you want is you want to get it all a light colour, because then you'll be down to the low points. And this is where patience really is a virtue. But when we do get down to those low points, that join would have totally gone. See, the join was here somewhere, wasn't it? And it will hopefully totally gone. Now the reason it's a light colour, of course, is because you are putting micro scratches into the surface. Although it'll feel quite smooth, you are putting micro scratches in there. Now what you want to do is not keep going the same way all the time, because if you do, you just put deeper scratching. So do a bit that way and do a bit that way, and ideally do it all round and round in circles, but that's not always possible. And I always tend to do it dry. I don't tend to bother wetting it. I tend to do it dry. There you go. Can you see the join there? You can eat it, of course. I've not rubbed that bit down yet. This is the side where it had got the step in it, where it had sort of sprung out of it. So this bit might be a bit trickier to get right. Wesley says he works on a different time scale to most people. Does that mean you're behind with everything, Wesley? I'm behind with things. I'm usually behind with stuff. I'm late for everything, as any of you who have ever waited for this stream to start will know. Now I'm doing this across the crack because one side was high, remember, and I want to try and knock that high edge off. So I'm now deliberately going across the crack to sort of knock the sort of cliff face off of the bit that was sticking out. That we're getting there. You can still see a shiny bit there though along the crack there, and that's because there's a low bit in there, because this bit here is slightly higher than this bit here. So what I've got to do is keep sanding that way and try and knock that high edge off. I should be able to do it. It's only a fraction of a millimetre, but it's there. So what's everybody else been up to this week while I'm sat here doing this? Has anybody been up to anything exciting? There we go, it's going, look, it's going. Fisher says the Panasonic PABX have the capacitor in RJ12 sockets. Do they? Maybe your one's different to my one, because I don't think my one did. My one, I've got the capacitor in the little adapter that you plug into it. Because when you do a PABX, basically all your internal extensions, all your boxes on your wall have to be master sockets, the equivalent of a BT master socket, and you can buy them quite cheaply, master sockets, on eBay. I got a box full on eBay at 10 or 20 when I put my installation in. Well, she says, I've been spraying various bits of my old Fergie grey. Have you got a Fergie then, Wesley? I didn't know you'd got a Fergie. I'm assuming it's a grey Fergie then. Is it? Always quite fancied one of those. But, is it in bits at the minute then, Wesley, this Fergie? Dominic says, there was an interesting piece I saw the other day on the introduction of colour TV, and it showed the broadcast van with Trimphones in it. That's interesting, because Trimphones would have been expensive at the time, unless the broadcast van was fitted out by STC, because STC of course invented the Trimphone as we know it today. So if you wanted a private phone from STC, chances are they'd supply you a Trimphone, because that's what they made at the time, and that was their product sort of thing. They wanted to show it off. Right, there you go. That is almost perfect, I would say. I can still very slightly see where the crack was on there. But it's not really a crack anymore, so looking pretty good. Now what you would do now is polish this, because like I say, I've put micro scratchers into it, even though I'm using fairly fine sandpaper. It has put scratchers into it. So what you would now need to do really is polish this with finer and finer abrasives of whatever sort, and the thing I often end up with is Brasso or something like that, or T-cut. And it will eventually come back to a nice shiny surface. What I would like to do, I can't find a sprayer fine enough, would be to absolutely mist one with very, very fine acetone. Maybe a perfume spray or something like that would do it. But I think if you could mist it with very, very fine acetone, I think it would it would re-shine it all, because that's how they used to polish phones in America that were returned to Bell. Bell used to basically mist them with acetone in a spray booth, and it polished them up again. I don't know what it did about the detail though in them, because there's detail on them on Bell phones in America. There's like pressed Western Electric thing written on them, and I don't know what the acetone mist did to that. But there you go. Anyway, you get the idea there. That was in two pieces. That's the one that was in two pieces, totally in two pieces. And can you see the join now? So you get the idea of what we're trying to achieve there, don't you? Do a little bit on the back here there. You can see where the crack was on the corner there still, so there. Can't believe there's so many people actually watching me sit here doing this, but for that was in two pieces, and now can you see where the break was? Let's show it you close up. Remember, it was broken across there somewhere. So there it is now. Back together. And that shows the magic that you can do with a bit of acetone. Right, let's have a look at the other one. This was just tracked on one side and is written on it as well. So, patience is a virtue when you're doing this. Dominic says, was it full strength acetone or was it cut with water? I think it was full strength acetone that they use in America, Dominic. Because it needed to melt the surface layer. Wesley says, do you put anything on the non-visible side of the crack to strengthen it? All I do, Wesley, you can't really see it on these actually. All I do is I dribble some more acetone on the inside and sort of paint it on over the crack. So let's say the crack was across there, but let's say it was the inside. I'd put some more acetone in and I lay it in along the crack in the hope that it'll sort of capillary action will take it in, and then I go side to side to sort of try and move the plastic from each side into the crack like that, and I do that on the inside as well as on the outside, and hopefully it holds. I mean, I'm quite surprised these have held up, because normally I leave them 24 hours at least before I start sanding. So I'm quite surprised I've got away with this. I thought they might fall apart again. I thought they might not be fully dried yet, but seem okay. So there you go, that gives you some idea of what it should turn out like. The crack completely disappeared on that one, nice and strong, and of course the brake has disappeared on this one. Hang on, no, that's the one that was broken. The brake's disappeared on this one, the crack has disappeared on this one. This was one that was cracked on one side, because look, it's not been sanded on the other side. So this is the one that was cracked on one side, this is the one that was totally broken, and you know, when that's polished some more, there's no way you'll ever know where that brake was. No way you'll ever know. So that's how you do it. That is how you sand these little things down, little bits and pieces down, using, I think it's 160 or 180 grit sandpaper. And it's just cheap sandpaper, it's not wet and dry, it's just cheap sandpaper out of somewhere like Wilko's in the UK. That's all it is, what we use to do it. Wesley says, what about an airbrush for misting some acetone on? That's a good idea, Wesley, that would probably work. Yeah, that's a very good idea actually, Wesley, I like that idea. Christopher says, I got 2 working VCR tape players for free from a friend. Excellent. Are they pneumatic, Christopher? What are they? What format are they? This all seems to have stopped again. Wesley says, what is the circuit board in the pot next to the acetone? Ah, well spotted, Wesley. You mean this? It's a very good question. It was a little box that I have no idea what it did, that I got in a load of electronic items that I picked up from somebody who basically wanted rid. He got loads of electronic things, some of it broken and that he wanted rid of, and I picked it up because I thought there might be useful components in some of these things that I picked up. Like, for instance, on this circuit board there's quite a nice little switch on there, you see. So the idea is, this was an item that I don't know what it was. I think it was part of a burglar alarm or something, or something similar to that. And I basically scrapped the case and that, but I thought there might be some useful components on these boards, so I kept them. So I do all sorts of things like that, because sometimes you just want a component and might be one on the board, and sometimes there's chips and things. When you can work out what the chips are, there's a chip on there. Sometimes anybody that's into vintage computers will know there are certain chips in old computers that you can't get anymore. So I'm always a bit of a hoarder when it comes to sort of bits of electronics like that, because I always figure there might be something useful on there. I mean, most things, you know, probably aren't terribly useful for what they're worth, you know, a fraction of a penny for some things like resistors and things like that, and you probably wouldn't want to use an old capacitor, but things like that little switch might be quite handy. And there's another one on there, slightly bigger one on there, look. And stuff. So yeah, so they're basically nothingness. They're basically scrap things. And I take stuff apart, electronic stuff, mainly for the screws and stuff, because you can never have too many little screws and little nuts and things in a pot, because you'll always want some obscure ones. So I hoard nuts and bolts and screws and things, because you try going out and buying a nut and a bolt, it's harder than you'd think. I had this problem once with a Land Rover. I changed a radiator in my Land Rover, and I got a new pattern part radiator from Britpart, I think it was, and there were like long machine screws with nuts on the end that held this radiator in. And the new radiator, I think it got retained. You'll probably know better than me. I think the nuts were retained on the radiator, and you had to put these long machine screw things back into it to hold it on to the front of the Land Rover. But the new one had been tapped for metric, not imperial. So I needed these machine screw things. Actually, no, they were bolts. They were metric bolts, long, thin metric bolts, not machine screws. And the original ones that held the radiotron that I took off were imperial, but because the nut was retained on the sort of housing of the radiator, and then you put this bolt through to hold it onto the front of the Land Rover. And because these nuts that were retained were now metric, I needed metric bolts. And I went out to try and buy a bolt one day. Now granted it was a Sunday, but I went to the biggest B&Q you've ever seen. Did it sell bolts? Nuh-uh. Sold machine screws. You buy machine screws from Wilko's. You might be able to buy your nut from Wilko's, but can you buy a bolt? No. So I basically now keep all nuts, bolts, everything like that. I mean, they're all mixed up in a pot like that. I'll never find the one I want, of course, when I do actually want one, but at least they're there somewhere. So, one day I'll sort them all out. But yeah, all sorts of stuff like that I hang on to, because you never know when you're going to need it. Dominic says, I've repurposed a CD VHS player as my CD input for my hi-fi, but I realise it really should be a Sony CD player or Betamax. Yes, Betacam. Get a Betacam if you want. If you want an interesting video machine, try a Betacam one. So I'm just reading the chat. I'm trying to read the chat. It's very small and it's a long way away at the minute. Could do with binoculars. Chris says, I've put overhead wire on my model railway for the Red Rattler model. I didn't realise you've got a Red Rattler model. I must have missed that. It says the crossing gate light that I've hung up is made in the 1980s, and I got 2 for free from Level Crossing Removals. That's good, because the level crossing gate lamps and that are worth a fortune over here, Christopher. Yeah, you don't get much change out of 100 quid. In fact, if any, you probably end up paying more. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with these. Really pleased with that. That's come out. Yeah. That's the one that was split, and I've not quite sanded it down enough. I can just see a shiny line where the crack was, but I can't feel it. So maybe a little bit more sanding on that one, and then they will be able to go back to their owner and will be able to say, right, these are done now. Yeah. That'd be very cool, wouldn't it? And that. Right, if you've got any bits of phones or anything that you want repairing, by the way, do get in touch with us if you've got a phone that you want fixing. Anybody who happens to be watching this, the way to get in touch with me, as we said earlier on in the show, initially at least, is through the contact form on the website andyshed.coldpress.net. Leave your email and a message on the contact form and I will email you back. I don't give the email out on here because if I do, I get loads of spam, and the only spam that I want is the sort you can fry and eat on a sandwich. Right. Wesley says he's a bit spoilt in the nut and bolt department. There's a very well stocked engineering merchant in his hometown. They even have a good range of Imperial fasteners stocked. Ah, but do they have Whitworth ones, Wesley? Do they have Whitworth? I was actually yesterday I was trying to unseize a seized up Perkins outboard engine off a boat, and I took the cylinder head off, and there were small cylinder head bolts on it. Looked like about a 10mm head on these cylinder head bolts, and I tried Imperial spanners, I tried metric spanners, and I tried Whitworth spanners, and none of them were a perfect fit. The nearest thing I got to being a good fit was an 11mm metric spanner, and bearing in mind this engine was made in the 1960s and based on an American design anyway, that are still Imperial, I'm very surprised that the nearest thing I could get to fit was a metric spanner, an 11mm metric spanner, and that's one of the sizes that not all sets of spanners have one in. If you have a small set of spanners, they tend to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. They miss certain sizes out, and 11 is one that's missed out in some sets of spanners. But luckily I got one, and I did manage to get it off with this 11mm ring spanner. I did but it wasn't a perfect fit. I wasn't totally happy. Luckily, with it only being a small engine, there wasn't a lot of torque on it. But I wasn't totally happy trying to undo these bolts with this 11mm spanner, because nothing seemed to fit. And it's not that the bolts were corroded, because they weren't terribly corroded. So I've got no idea what size they were, but as far as I know, there's metric, there's imperial, and there's Whitworth, and that's all there is. But these bolts didn't seem to be quite any of those, so I've got no idea. If anybody knows, let me know. Leave a comment or something. Wesley says, I've got a 712 Trimphone with a crack which I need to repair. I'll have to have a practice first. Have a practice. I mean, what you want really is something you don't care about that's broken. I mean, luckily I've got a load of spare parts and things, some of which are broken. Like all those cases that I got a few weeks ago. Some of those are broken, but it won't be the end of the world if I got it wrong. So they're the sort of thing that you practice on. But these have come out particularly well, because it doesn't normally work so well on dark coloured stuff. So I'm quite pleased with these. It has worked rather well. Cool. They're very good. It says unified size, maybe. Oh yeah, I've forgotten all about them. Yeah, unified. Are they slightly different head sizes then? I thought the idea of unified was that it used an already existing hex size, if you like. Christopher says he'll do a Red Rattler video in March to show the cab when he goes to Steam Rail Open Day. Excellent. Yeah, we like the Red Rattlers. I can't believe they lasted in service so long as they did. Right, anyway, I think that's probably about as far as we go for today. We've had a fairly productive day. I've had a fairly productive weekend. I've moved all the stuff into the radio station. I unseized a seized Perkins boat engine, which is going to go on the little boat that I bought a while ago. Have you seen the boat? I don't know if I showed you all a picture of the boat or not, but it'll be appearing soon. It'll be appearing soon. So unseized the seized boat engine this weekend. Started putting stuff in the radio station and repaired 2 Trimphone handsets. What more could you want from a weekend's work? Right, that is pretty much it for today. Thanks to everybody for watching. There's been quite a lot of you watching again today. I think it might be a record again today. So we will be back around about the same time, same place next week, all being well. If I get any more done at the radio station, I will try and stick another video up in the week if I get anything done there. So watch out for those coming out. One thing to say before we do go, though, talking to the radio station, we are looking for people to do shows at the minute. So if you make a syndicated radio show that you'd like us to transmit on PVR, or if you would actually like to come into our studios at Plesley Vale on the Derbyshire-Nottinghamshire border and actually make a show yourself, no experience necessary, we would love to hear from you. Get in touch at the normal place, andyshed.wordpress.net. But that does indeed wrap it up for this week. Thanks to everybody for dropping by, and I will see you, as I say, around about the same time, same place next week. All be well, right here on Andy's Shed Live. Until then, bye for now.